Hello and welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's episode, we've got another incident that involves a person with their dog in the water. We also are going to go over a crazy incident with a boat and a great white shark. I'm assuming it's a great white shark. And to finish off the show, we are going to have a return of What Were You Thinking? Stick with us. It's going to be a great show. Okay, we're going to start out our show over at El Yaque Beach, and that is in Venezuela. The date, April 11th of 2003. Yann Perras, he is 28 years old, and he is doing some windsurfing. He's over a mile from shore. No telling how deep the water is or what time of day, but he's having a problem with his board, so he gets off the board and he's doing some repairs to it when a shark comes up. A 10-foot mako shark bites, sounds like it bit him in his left foot first and then bit his right leg, severing his leg. Another yacht was in the area and saw the predicament and got over quickly and pulled Yann up and out of the water. Yann was taken in. The firefighters went ahead and gave him medical treatment on the beach. Then he was taken to the hospital where he spent, it sounds like, a week at the hospital. And then he was released. Later on, Yann became an advocate for the sharks, to not go out and kill sharks after these kind of events happen. I agree 100% with them. There's only a couple reasons that sharks should be killed. One is for that, recreational. I mean, I don't have a problem with anybody going out and catching a great white shark they want to, like Vic Hislop used to do back in the day. I'm not against that. And then conservation. There's too many sharks, and that's not going to be good for the ecosystem. So if you know that, then you have to do something about it. Those two reasons, fine. Plenty of them were taken out, and that's, I would think, that kind of holds down the numbers to where they're not going to explode the way that a lot of us worry about. I haven't seen the numbers, but somebody did mention hundreds in nets just off of Australia coasts, and they don't have a lot of nets that I know of, I don't think. But that's a lot of sharks, so that would keep the numbers in check, I would think. So that's our story of Yann Perras. He was attacked. A 10-foot mako shark bit him in the foot and then took his right leg. That's an attack. We're going to put it down as an attempt to predate. It sounds like the yacht got over there as this was still happening, and I would think that this mako, after biting him twice, is going to come back again. We've seen a lot of times where they're territorial. This doesn't sound very territorial to me. This sounds like it might have been out to, go ahead and finish the job. So that's how I'm going to put that in the record. The attack, attempt to predate, 10-foot mako shark. Okay, now we're going to head over to the Papaku Plantation, and that's in Hawaii. The date on this is in November of 1918. Tadiachi Mayamura, he is out fishing from a rock, and we've had these stories before, fishing from a rock. But this time, this report is from his wife. He was fishing from the rock in the deep water, so the water's deep enough for a large shark to be there for sure. He's fishing, and a large wave comes up, and his wife says that he's brought off the rock. He ends up surviving the fall from the rock, doesn't smack his head or anything, because he's screaming for her shortly after he enters the water, a large dorsal fin appears at the surface. And then there's a struggle. He's struggling with the fish and he's yelling, "Help me," to his wife. And then he disappears. A search, they could not find his body. Tadiachi Mayamura is going to go down as an attack, a predation. We just don't know what type of shark or exactly what size. We just know it was large. Yeah, now we're going to head over to Julian Rocks, and that is in Byron Bay, Australia, and the date is March 11th of 2015. Robbie Graham, he is a local fisherman, and he is at the Julian Rocks, and he is standing, he's in a tinny or aluminum boat, and he's standing in the back of it as he's fishing, and he's got a hooked tuna, and he's reeling this hooked tuna in. Suddenly, he's probably almost got the fish in because a large great white shark, 15-footer, slams into the back of his boat. He's standing in the back of the boat, of course, pushes the boat forward, and he falls backwards right in there with the shark. The shark wasn't interested in him at all. He says he got in that boat faster than he could have thought he could, got back up into the boat and went immediately in and notified authorities of what had happened. The Julian Rocks are only 2 miles from shore, just under, it sounds like, 2 miles from shore. in Byron Bay. So he went in, and authorities, they had closed the beaches, I do believe, as there was a 15-foot shark nearby and had been aggressive, but was probably after that tuna. Down in Isla Morada, we lose tuna all the time at the hump, probably to, I would say, sandbar sharks, maybe some hammerheads and some bull sharks taking our, but they sit there and they know that boats show up, they're going to catch the tunas for them, and they can just swim up and grab the fish real easy, and they do that all the time. All of a sudden you feel, when it happened to me, it felt like I had a car on there. I was like, poof, it just stopped. And the shark just sat there. It didn't move. I couldn't feel any movement, and I couldn't move the shark at all. I tried that pull back, and that worked once, and then I was too tired. I'm like, no, I'm not going to mess with this shark. So, you know, you're fishing, that's one of those things that are going to happen, but to be knocked off the boat and into the water with the 15-foot great white, no, I'll pass. So that's our story of Robbie Graham. It's not an attack, it's just a shark going after his fish that knocked him out of the boat in with the shark. No injury. Now we're going to head over to Laguna Po, and that is near Balrail over in New Caledonia. And the date is April 9th of 2016. Nicole Malignon, she is 69 years old. She is out bathing her dog. So her dog is out there in about 4.5 feet of water, and her dog is with her, and she's suddenly attacked by a shark. She's severely attacked by a shark. It's about 10:45 in the afternoon, and like I said, she's in 4 feet of water. No telling how far from shore she is. But 50 yards further out, there's a gentleman, Terry Chanson, and he is teaching his 5-year-old son how to sailboard. So he sees the attack and tells his son to take that board and go immediately to shore, and then he starts swimming to the woman. He gets over and grabs Nicole under her arms and takes her into the beach. They use 2 towels for tourniquets, and we're going to get more cloth to be able to use to help her. But she ends up dying from her wounds. This ends up being from a 2.5 meter tiger shark, so that's about a 9-foot tiger shark, 8.5, 9-foot tiger shark that got a hold of her. Definitely an attempt to predate. It sounds like the only thing that stopped it from finishing was the fact that that gentleman had swam over without worrying about his own life to do that. That's just one of the craziest ones, that you have your 5-year-old son, but you're going to send him there and you're going to swim to an attack victim. Oh man, bravo to you. That's crazy. I would be worried about getting my son to the beach first and then going out. I mean, just going through my head right now, but you know, crazy. Turns out to be fatal. It's an attempt to predate by a 2.5 meter or 8 to 9 foot tiger shark. Okay, now we go 20 miles off of the Grand Bahamas Island in the Bahamas, and the date is July 13th of 2014. John Petty, he is 63 years old, and he and 8 others are doing some night diving. They're in 20 feet or less water, and they're diving. Now this place is known for diving with tiger and lemon sharks. So people go diving with them all the time, probably at night too. I have videos, you know, my video clips of the night dives with those tigers. I'm not sure if it's there, but it does happen. So 9 of them go into the water, and John Petty never surfaces. One of the divers is the last to see them, but it doesn't state how long before they surfaced that was or where that was. Just that he had disappeared. A search was called on. They found his mask, and they found, I believe it was his flashlight or another piece of gear. So they found 2 pieces of his gear. Never spotted a part of him. Definitely taken by sharks. You don't know which one, you know, which kind. Probably not a lemon shark, probably a large tiger or a number of tigers would be my guess. But the GSAF points out that, you know, those sharks are conditioned for swimming with people, so it's not likely they would bite them. We'll get into them a little bit at the end of the show when I explain what's going on with these new little shorter videos that are going out and these shorts that are going to go out. I'll get into that at the end of the show when the viewers that want to get into that are going to be around. So that's our story of John Petty. He ends up being an attack, a fatality, but attempt to consumed, but we don't know what type of shark. Probably a tiger shark, but I'm not going to just put it into my stats unless I know. We're just going to put it down as unknown as far as the shark. but I'm positively going to put it down as consumed by the sharks. We're going to head over off of Santa Maria Island, which is in Florida, and the date is September 24th of 2011. Charles Wickersham, 21 years old, he is going spearfishing with some friends. They took their boat about 6 miles offshore of Santa Maria Island to a ledge that they had marked on their GPS, and they were going to go after some hogfish. So they enter the water. They spear a few hogfish, they take them up, put them in the boat. It's almost 3 o'clock and Charles and his friend dive down again, and Charles gets himself another hogfish. So Charles and his friend go up to the boat. His friend had gotten into the boat, so he handed his friend the hogfish, and now he's going to go down one more time. He goes down again, so now it's 3 o'clock, and Charles is looking around at the bottom. He sees just I believe it was a yellowtail snapper down there. He took a shot at it but missed, so he says he had to go back up to the surface. So they're free diving, they're holding their breath, and he's back at the surface, and now he's at the surface resting, and he says he feels a grab to his leg. He thought one of his buddies had grabbed his leg, and he says he put his head under the water and he could see that there was a shark on his leg. He says the only thing he could think of was to let go of his spear gun, which he did, and took both of his fists and punched that shark in the face. Now the shark is probably across his body because it's a wound to his thigh, but it's this way. So it's kind of going around, I don't know if you can see that, but it's going around this way from this side. So it sounds like the shark went across him and grabbed his leg. Now he punched the shark with both fists and the shark released him. He says he reached down into the water to check his leg, and it was just a huge flap of skin, and I have went ahead and posted that link so that you can see some of those flaps of skin when they say that. It's all the way to the bone. He's in there and he's looking at that. The next thing he knows, he's up on the boat. His friends now are called 911. They're taking the boat in. This is a 6-mile trip, so this is going to take a while to get in there. Even a fast boat, you're talking a 20-minute drive, and you probably have to go slower because you'll beat him up on the way in. And somebody was holding his head, I would think, so that he isn't getting beat up on the way in, because it is rough going in and out when you're fishing on the ocean. So his friends are telling him to stay conscious the whole time, and he is telling them the whole time that they're taking him in, yes, I am conscious. What he didn't tell him was the numb, tingling sensation he was getting in his leg, and I believe it was his arms also. So he had lost a lot of blood, and that was probably the result of that, and of the trauma of the pain probably starting to come back after the adrenaline and shock wears off of the actual incident happening. I'm sure that, that attributes to people that don't feel pain. But another strange one where it's a bull shark and the guy thinks his buddy's grabbed his leg. I mean, that's just the oddest thing, that you could be bitten all the way to the bone like he was, and you thought your buddy's got your leg. I don't think I'll ever get over how crazy that is to me. So we're going to put this down as an attack, not an attempt to predate, simply because he punched that shark off and the shark left him alone. There was a 9 to 10 foot bull shark, so it's a good thing. We've had a lot of these bull sharks out in open water like this that aren't as aggressive, that are more territorial than they are when they're attacking people at the shore. And this has popped up in the stats, and we're going to go over another thing in the stats about kayaks and boards, and we'll get into that at the end of the show. But this is one thing that stood out to me, is that the bull shark in the open ocean, especially when they're biting on these spear fishermen, it's a bite and they usually leave. This time it was on his leg and he punched it and it left. But most of the time they just bite and leave like a normal territorial attack. That's our story of Charles Wickersham, an attack, not an attempt to predate, by a 9 to 10 foot bull shark. Okay, now we're going to finish out our show with What Were You Thinking? Today's What Were You Thinking? We're going to go back over to the Gulf Island National Seashore, to Fort Pickens, to Langdon Beach at Fort Pickens, and that is in Florida. The date on this is July 4th of 1999. Lisa Alexander is 30 years old, and it's in the afternoon. Her and some friends are in knee-deep water, so you're talking 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet of water, playing in a school of bait fish. Playing in a school of bait fish. So what ends up happening? Approximately 6 foot black tip shark comes up and bites her in the leg. not a mistaken identity, not thinking that it's a fish. That's an accident. You're standing there with its food. You're as liable to be bit for being there as its fish is that it's after. So that's an accidental bite. Like I said, they're not mistaken identity in those cases. A lot of surfers that are over there in the shark attack capital of the world are doing nothing but surfing and bait fish, and those are all accidents. Those are not mistaken identity. Those sharks, they might be seeing the feet and thinking it's a fish. Well, the reason they're thinking that is because they're after their fish. You are with their fish. And like I said about people being in the water, you're in the way. So that's what ends up happening. You know, you're in with their bait fish, and you're playing in the bait fish. That's not a good thing. I don't know what you're thinking. Shark's going to show up. You got a school of fish, stay away from that school of fish, because sharks might be interested in that school of fish, and even if they're small fish, sharks might be interested in what's interested in those small fish. So anytime there's a big schooling of marine life, keep your distance from it. That's it for the show for today, and the normal watchers that are into the sharks can bolt. And right now we're going to get into a couple things at the end of the show. I just changed up and started doing some shorter videos, and they're individual attack videos. These are unbiased, just factual representations of the attacks. Now the good thing, and why I'm really going back and doing this, is I got myself yet another place to check archives for newspapers, where I can check on these back in closer to when these went. And this one is only USA, which is a bummer, because it's a lot better. It catches a lot more information than my other site did, which does the whole world. I get a lot of information from both, but the two together, it makes it so that I get more. So I went through and I did those 3 attacks. Now the one, I'm going to get into a couple more that I want to do in individual attacks for sure. But the one that I did that I was kind of surprised with, and I didn't go back and look what I went off of, I don't know whose source was being used. There's 2 different versions of this whole attack that I covered. And it's the attack on the spear fisherman, where in the newspaper, right after it happened, Gary New says that the victim handed him his spear gun. So the victim shot the fish, handed Gary his spear gun, and then swam after the fish. Now the GSAF report has all this stuff in there about Gary going down, jamming the fish against the rocks with his spear gun, and then floating up to the top, and he's taking a breather, and then he's bitten both legs, and he takes his spear gun and starts fighting it off with the spear gun. And he didn't have the spear gun. The spear gun was given to Gary New, which is in the papers right after it happened. So something's going on there, and it could be they talked to somebody later on down the road, and things change. And that's why I like to have the sources close far back. So I went with, in this new version of events, I didn't even look back at what I went with, because I don't know who's going off of what. If some other places were going off of GSAF sources, then I would have that wrong information too. But what I'm seeing is he was unarmed. He didn't even have a spear gun in his hand to do any of that. So there's a whole story in the GSAF that's just fabrication. I would think that they would mention it. They mentioned 4 different people that the shark approached. A couple of them used their spear guns to keep it away. Gary New pointed his spear gun at it to keep it away. And the gentlemen that were confronted at the bottom of the seafloor, they used their spear guns to keep it away. But the only one that I don't see that had a spear gun that had given it away was the guy that supposedly was fighting the shark off and pushing. I don't know where they got all that. So I went with what I went with. I do want an individual record of all these attacks, at least the ones that, so the ones that I'm covering, these are the ones I want to remember specifically. And I want to be able to go back to them, and others have wanted to be able to go back to them. So the regular show is us going through them. Yeah, I want you to know that these shorter videos, and even the shorts, they're not going to be new attacks. You're not going to get anything new. You might get new information on old attacks, but they're all attacks you've already seen. So I wanted to get that out of the way. The reason all this is going on is because there was a change made. I'll put up a little graphic here. And what that graphic is, it's just views. And the purple is new returning viewers. It's all you that come back and watch. The blue underneath, I think it's been blue, that's new viewers, and it's so low, and it hasn't been that low since I started the channel, but it's so low that people are only finding me by searching me, and that's happening. You can see where the change went. There's a change in the algorithm. I did a short on Halloween. I'd already heard that this change in the algorithm was going to happen. So I did a short. Nobody watched the short. So I gave up on doing shorts. On that graph, you can basically see where that change went in the algorithm, where they're killing channels that didn't do the shorts. You know, because YouTube's got to be like Mark Zuckerberg, and if one person, they want everybody to go ahead and compete with. I guess TikTok is what they're competing with. So they don't care about quality of anything. They don't care how many comments say that this is the best channel, their favorite channel. They don't care about none of that. They care that you follow and obey their rules. Plebs versus rulers. And if I ever did a political channel, that's what it would be called probably. But anyway, yeah, so the channel, it's, as far as itself, I had told my sister the other day, she had called me and asked me, I told her it's dying, and it's dying quickly, and it's purposely being killed. And it's kind of my fault. You know, I did the one short, nobody watched it, and what am I going to do with shorts? I mean, basically all I can do is the things that you don't have much information with. Who wants to hear about that? So I could do these shorter videos. Those are going to screw with my channel because they're not short, so they're going to offset all these longer views, and now my views drop, and it's stuff that's not going to be good for the channel also. I ran into this with Indianapolis, actually. The Indianapolis episodes, both of them, are the best thing I've ever done. I will never do anything better than that. I took so many different sources and mashed them together, changed up timelines to be able to put it in order, because a lot of these books, they went with the different people, but what was going on at different sections, and I put it all together. And I was really proud of that, and it, you know, the channel has its own metrics that it goes off of, and there's a thing called reach. That's how many people see it, and there's impressions, and then that's how many people are clicking on it. Well, less than one, I don't know what it is now. It was in the 2 range, so 2 out of 100 people would click on it and even check it out. It's probably a lot lower than that. It actually hurts the channel. The best thing I ever did hurts my channel. I'm not getting rid of it because I love it, but it's just, it's kind of frustrating when that stuff happens, and now it's a purposeful damage to the channel. I'm going to see if I can work my way out of it. I know a lot of you do not like these short videos, but I mean, there's not much more I can do. My first month I was monetized. I was paid for 3 weeks. It was 2 weeks and about 4 days, so it wasn't even a full month. I made $2,300 that month. I'm going to do less than that this month. I got over 100 videos out, so how that is happening, that's got to be purposeful. So YouTube is killing my channel. There's really nothing I can do about it. I can try to do these shorts and shorter videos, but my normal viewers don't care for it. So I'm pretty much not in a very good place. So what I need to do is I need to take my feelings of the channel out of this and examine and analyze what I need to do. It may be that I need to just post every now and then and work on a different channel, because it's a lot of stuff to go through, and then to see that they're going to just kill your channel off. You know, I love that I have 63,000 subscribers, but I don't have a video since that change over 20,000 people. They're not even sending it out to my subscribers. And I've heard this from other people, and they're like, why don't you contact YouTube about it? Yeah, I've seen large channels try to contact YouTube, and they are not receptive to large channels. With millions of subscribers, they're not going to care what a 60,000 subscriber show is. They don't care how good stuff is. They have a computer running this stuff. No feelings involved. You just need to figure out how that works and work to it like Mr. Beast does. Somebody like me who knows how it works and fights against it, won't borrow stuff and use other people's stuff in fair use and stuff like that, I'm already putting myself at a disadvantage. But when they go ahead and kill your channel because you do not obey, I don't agree with that. I mean, that's Mark Zuckerberg at its finest. He might as well be in charge of YouTube as far as I'm concerned. And I couldn't think any less of anybody than Mark Zuckerberg, because I finally weaned myself off of his site and left it all together and deleted my account. So I don't know what's going to happen yet, whether I start another channel and just turn this into a part-time thing. I have a ton of stuff to go through. I could do this on my own and just put out the information at the end, but I'm probably just going to, if I do another channel, I'll probably just do this thing part-time. So I'm going to give this a try with the shorter videos and the shorts and see if I can't get the YouTube algorithm to start sending my stuff out to people, because if you can't, I mean, there's no growth. 10,000 people probably are seeing my stuff out of my subscribers. I have 60,000, and I haven't had a video hit 60,000 since the change. So my viewers, my subscribers probably aren't even seeing the videos. So we'll see what happens. That's our show for today. I wanted to let you all know what was going on, because I saw how confused everybody was when I glanced at the questions last night. I did not want to get into them too much, but I figured I'd address it all at once. And I know that all of you that stuck around to watch this explanation are the ones that are always here, and I appreciate you all. So I always save these to the end. Everybody else doesn't want, they think that my video should end after the sharks, and I should never talk about anything after that. And I told them, I says, once the sharks are done and I talk about something else, sharks are done. I'm not putting information that's vital to any shark thing after I'm done with the last segment of the show. And speaking of anything that I've looked into, and it's kind of a bummer because I just had an MIT biologist, MIT trained biologist. I don't think he's a biologist now, but he's MIT trained, and he liked the show and he wanted to talk to me. And I just sent him an email to get back to him. Shark bites, we were going to do I sent him a list of questions, 10 questions. Most of them are from the viewers that I've had over the time that I could think of. A lot of them were right at that time, like, why do these tigers lose their stripes as they get larger? It's one of the questions that went in there. Sent a couple of my own questions to him, and he's going to do these questions, and we're going to do a question and answer. I'm going to have him for a show with me, but it's kind of depressing that, I think that he should probably put it on his channel, because it's not going to be watched on this, at least not by anybody new, not currently. So that's the update on the channel. Hopefully everything goes well. We'll see how it goes. That's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll be back in probably 3 days for a regular show. And you'll probably get some small little shorts and maybe a individual attack coverage in between. And until then, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.